Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Marvel Runaways Season 2. So, Season 2 came out in December of 2018, and all the episodes dropped out once as opposed to Season 1 that had it weekly and stuff. I love the Runaways, and I'm so pissed it got canceled after 3 seasons. It got canceled mainly due to, Disney acquiring like a lot of their properties back and buying out Fox and, wanting to end all of the Marvel television programs and stuff that weren't connected to the MCU directly. And also, maybe like ratings had like a little bit to do with it because I know a lot of people weren't happy with season one. They said like season one kind of was like a little too slow and everything, which, yeah, it kind of was. However, their ratings were actually pretty good. Like on Rotten Tomatoes, they had they was in the upper 80s for the first 2 seasons, but the third it dipped down just by a few points and everything. But they had really good like viewership and stuff. So most likely it really just came down to Marvel Disney being little butt heads and causing all their Marvel Studio television shows to end and everything. And that's quite a shame because even though season one did start off very slow and they didn't run away into the very last episode of season one, and they took a long time to build up all these characters, our heroes, the villains who are their parents, you know, it is still a heck of a lot better than those Disney Plus MCU shows. They had an actual showrunner for this show. They actually thought things through. They actually have multiple storylines, twists and turns, major character development that didn't just happen in like the last couple of episodes, and they had major reveals throughout the whole like season and not just the last couple of episodes. And plus, they was able to have a bit more episodes. First season had 10, so the third and the second had 13, as opposed to Disney Plus that does like 6 to 9 episodes, no showrunner, no real vision, and their only purpose is to set up the movies. So I don't care what the heck anybody says about this show. This show was good and everything. And it's a heck of a lot better than, like I said before, pretty much every MCU Disney Plus television series. They were dark. They had grit to them. They was able to use cuss words and everything. I mean, how often do you see that happen in a Disney Plus show? A Disney Plus show feels almost PG, not even PG-13 at the most. And if this show would have had a bigger budget for them to use their powers a whole lot more with the CGI, it would have been a whole lot better because the acting was good, the storytelling was good, what little use of CGI they used for that magic was good, but it was so brief. So you wanted to see bigger battles and everything, but you just couldn't. And so that was like a downfall and everything. They even brought in characters from like their own comics, and oh my god, dude, in the third season, they foreshadowed something so cool that happened in the comics that I was all like, oh, I can't believe we're not getting a season four. Spoiler alert, they foreshadowed Alex turning evil like he does in the comic and taking all the powers from the Runaways. There's a very famous scene in the comic, and they literally show that in a fast forward, like apocalyptic type future and everything. That is so boss and everything. And this show was MCU ish. Like, it wasn't directly connected to the MCU, but it's kind kinda in a separate dimension, kinda, and kinda connected to the MCU because they talk about the incident in season one. And as we all know, in these Marvel Studio shows, the incident is what happened with the Chitauri and the Avengers in the first Avengers movie. So it's kind of like a bridge of the MCU, like in a different, like parallel dimension, but close enough. And I believe they even said the word mutant when talking about Molly in the third season, I believe, because Molly in the comics is a mutant, but they can't do that here. So they had to come up with her powers a completely different way. Also, the Darkhold is in this season, in season three, actually, because there are witches in this show. And as we all know, the Darkhold is a part of the Doctor Strange movies and stuff in the MCU. Even one of the actresses who was in the first Doctor Strange movie appears in this series as like a main cast member. It's just insane. I wish to God Kevin Feige will bring this show over to the MCU. I don't care about these other Disney Plus shows getting a second season. Heck, I might not even watch them because I personally don't care. I did not like Moon Knight. I did not like She-Hulk. I hated Secret Invasion. I did not like the Agatha show. I could not stand the Miss Marvel show. And the Falcon and Winter Soldier, Bucky, whatever it's called, that just got on my nerves because it's like, where are you going? The direction keeps changing, but it's not changing in a smart way. WandaVision was only okay because people love Elizabeth Olsen. Vision was dead, and we wanted to know how the heck he came back. It was the biggest mystery show of all, so it kept people intrigued. Also, the whole sitcom reference was cool. And so that's one reason why WandaVision stands out, like, as one of the best, because the big mystery behind it. And Hawkeye was just fascinating, but disappointing and everything. Like, I'm still pissed at Moon Knight. That should have been boss level right there. But no, they had to MCU that up and everything. And I don't care about the future slate of the MCU Disney Plus shows like Ironheart. I don't care about that. What's his name? Mr. Marvel or something like that? I don't care about him. I don't even want to know who he is. Marvel Man or something like that. I don't even know what his name is. Oh God, what else is coming out? Now, Daredevil, I do care about. That I do care about. If the same people from the Netflix show is working on this, then hopefully it will be good, and hopefully they won't screw him up like they did in She-Hulk. And hopefully they won't screw the Kingpin up similar to what they did in Echo. Oh, Echo, I couldn't stand Echo either. But yeah, these Marvel television shows are a heck of a lot better than people remember. They had their own style. They were not formulaic in the MCU formula. And that what made them stand out. Like this season alone, God, let's see. It's 13 episodes, and I think it's broken up into at least 3 completely different storylines, and somehow they don't feel rushed. Somehow those 3 storylines in 13 episodes feel as fluid could be because they all tie in to the other storylines somehow. What's up with the first? Once they're done with the first, they just like, that's completely abandoned. But the last 2 storylines, they connect so well and everything. And you can tell that they didn't know really that they was going to get canceled in the 3rd season. And because when you watch the 3rd season and it goes a certain direction, then all of a sudden it does like a time jump type thing. Oh, you can tell at that time they knew they was getting canceled and they had to like wrap everything up really fast and stuff. But sadly, because, the first season went so slow, because they did a lot of world building in that first season, way too much and stuff. So I can understand why people didn't want to come back for the second season, but it really picks up in the second season and picks up even more in like the third. It gets a bit darker and more emotional in the second season. not just with the parents, but especially the runaways themselves. They have so many storylines going in within those characters that it gives really good depth of emotion and stuff. And they're just teenagers who are homeless and having to eat out of garbage cans and stuff like that, even though they're billionaires and stuff, but they can't go back to their family because their family is evil. Their parents are super villains and everything. But like I said in the first season review, which by the way, I've been wanting to talk about this for the longest time, and I would have done it a whole lot sooner if the little punk that owns Disney didn't take the Runaways off both Hulu and Disney Plus. So for the longest time, this was nowhere to be found. So I'm like, crap, dude, I can't even talk about the other seasons. I can't even rewatch one of my favorite shows. But then one day when I'm just bumming around on the CW app, I happened to find this show. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I can now watch this series again before they take that off the CW. So I'm trying to hurry up. If this show was to ever come out on DVD, oh, I would so buy it. I haven't bought none of those Disney Plus DVDs, not even WandaVision, and I like WandaVision, but no, they price those DVDs up way too high. They're too expensive and everything, and it's just ridiculous. But anyway. But yeah, their parents, just like I said in my first season review, their parents are evil, but they do change the parents' personalities a little bit for this show. See, in the comics, their parents are as evil can be. But in the show, because this is also like a family drama, comic book action drama series, adventure, whatever, they try to make the parents sympathetic. So the parents really didn't know what really what they was doing in the first season was that bad. Even though they know it was bad, they don't know the gist of all of it, you know what I'm saying, until they found out. So the parents are a bit more sympathetic. They want their kids back because they actually love them, whereas in the comics, oh, their parents are just straight up evil and stuff. Some things get tweaked here and there, like when it comes to that of, like, you know, the parents' backstories in the comics, like Molly got tweaked. Gert, she gets tweaked a little bit with her parents and how they got the dinosaur and stuff like that. And, you know, they couldn't really go all into that because it's only like a 10-13 minute episode series. And so, you know, they really couldn't dive too deep into that. And they didn't have the budget for the CGI and everything, which was unfortunate. But for the most part, they are very close and similar to that of their counterparts in the comics. Not to mention, they cast this show perfectly. The actual runaway team looks exactly the way they do from the comics, except for Molly, because they race bent her and gave her a certain hat because of what was going on in politics many years ago. But everybody else looks exactly the same. Although Alex is supposed to be black, and the actor who plays him is on the Penguin right now, and he's Afro-Latino. In fact, the dude who plays Alex, he wants to play Miles Morales in the MCU, but this dude is too old, and he's getting older, and Miles Morales ain't coming out until about 2006 or 2007. So he'll be way too old to play him by that time. But Miles Morales is Puerto Rican and black, and this dude is Puerto Rican and Dominican. Dominicans are half black, half Hispanic. And so, you know, I don't know how some people feel about that, but, you know, at least he is Afro-Latino, you know what I'm saying? But he looks just like Alex in this. He's just not dark enough. And I've said this before, boy, my favorite character is Nico. I love her so much. Like, she is just awesome. They do kind of retcon a little bit her staff. In the first season, they said it was like magical and technological, but in the second season, it purely seems to be just magic. And like Nico was such a fan favorite. They added her to some Marvel video game that came out a few years ago. And she's gonna be in that new Spider-Man cartoon that's coming out next year, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Originally, Lyrica, the actress who plays her in the show, was gonna play her in the cartoon, but scheduling conflicts or something or another came up. I don't know exactly what. It's not exactly like she's doing much right now. I think she's hosting a cooking show on Roku TV. I don't know how that could take up her time, but whatever, you know what I'm saying? I just really want this show to come back. This cast needs to come back, man. Seriously, it's not fair. They can bring back the fake British Mandarin, but they can't bring back the Runaways. That is just criminal. So this show was created by Josh Shukaritz and Stephanie Savage, and they did a really good job for what the budget they had, in my opinion. And the cast, like I said before, they're just like amazing. Rincey Phillips, Lyrica Akanoa, Virginia Gardner, Aria Barber, I don't know, Greg Sokin. Man, Greg Sokin, man, this dude, I keep forgetting he's British. Since he came to America, he's been having like a fake American accent, starring in all these American shows. I totally forgot this dude is British. And Algara Acosta, like they are like, the Runaways, and they play Nico, Alex, Jace, what's the name? Gert, Molly, and what's the one whose skin turns pink and glow, and she flies and shoot beams up? Catalina, that's it. And their main protagonist is Pride, their family. Pride is like a cult, a religious cult. And what they did in the first season is that they kidnapped teen runaways and they killed them. And the reason why they killed them is because of Jonah, Catalina's father. Jonah is an alien who took the body of a human man in the series. Not sure about the comic. And in order for him to live hundreds and hundreds of years, he has to take the life force from like a human. So with these runaways that people are looking for, and some people don't care, they kidnap them, they put them in this like machine, and their energy force goes into him. And so, like, when the team discovered that in the first season, they wanted to stop their parents. So the second season picks up right after that, right? And like I said before, it's split into 3 different storylines. The first storyline is the Topher storyline. And Topher is from the comics, but he is a vampire in the comics. They didn't do this here for some reason. I don't know why they didn't want to introduce him as a vampire, but instead they just gave him Molly's powers. And so that's the first conflict and the first villain that they have to face. Then they're back to facing their parents and Jonah. And so Jonah has a surprise for like, Catalina and stuff, but Pride has no idea. His spaceship holds his entire alien race and a lot of his family members. So what he plans on doing is getting Catalina and getting out of there. But if that fails, he plans on having them take over human bodies. So they don't know that at that time. And so like the spaceship keeps causing these vibrations like earthquakes and stuff, right? And so the team has to figure out a way to stop what their parents are doing, stop whatever Jonah is doing, and stop these earthquakes. Then in the third storyline, even though they stopped Jonah and everything, my God, Nico killed the crap out of him. One of the coolest things I've ever seen, man. What they don't know is that his alien race has now taken over people's bodies and people are starting to act weird. So now it's an alien invasion, but the alien invasion has to be very brief because they're running out of episodes. In between all that, the runaways are actually runaways. Like first they're like wanted for murder because their family blackmailed them to try to get the police to bring them back home. So now they're on the run and can't show their faces. Then they have to deal with crooked cops and everything who's trying to like bring them back to their family, but they don't want to. And one of their parents ends up killing like a guardian of theirs and a friend of theirs, so they just want revenge on their families because their family are evil, but the sympathetic evil, you know what I'm saying? And so they have to deal with a lot in just 13 episodes and stuff. And for the most part, they managed to do a very, very good job. Now, with them running away, I do like the fact that we saw them in the first episode with no money, the clothes on their back, a dinosaur, and a magic wand and everything, right? And they have nowhere to go, nowhere to live, nothing to eat. They're at like a soup kitchen. The only problem I have is that Alex knows a gangster who can get them some money and stuff. So we don't get to see them struggle, which could have added depth to their characters and stuff. So because of that, Alex gets them tons of money. They get tents and everything, but the money gets like stolen or something like that. And then they find their underground mansion, which is from the comics. And the interior of the underground mansion is amazing. None of that CGI MCU crap. Is all practical and stuff. And so is the car that they drive. An import because, Greg is British. And so, like, the mansion is like awesome and stuff like that. But when they meet Topher and stuff, he teaches them how to like dumpster dive. Now, we never get to see them dumpster dive, but we hear them talk about it all the time, them eating out of garbage cans and stuff. We do see them eat food, but it's always at the dinner table, but we never saw how they get it. And that's something that should have been shown. Like, they're actually homeless and runaways and they're teens. You gotta show that and everything. It would have been better for the story if we would have seen these teens diving into a dumpster, finding out what's good, and bringing it back home, and then being like, ugh, I can't believe I have to eat this, and then eat it. Instead of them always talking about it and smiling and everything, you know what I'm saying? So I don't like how they never showed that because that's something they should have shown. And so, like, a lot of the storylines that happened in the first season are still happening in the second season, and some of them are coming to like an end while other ones are being expanded upon. And it's just crazy with the relationship between them and their parents because it's so rocky and stuff. But let's get to some individual character profiles. Oh, first, before I do that, let's get into the intro. So the intro. I'm a huge intro fan. The intro is not that special. The music is nice and it's a nice tone they have. But one thing I do like about the intro is that each of these characters have a specific power or trait, and the intro does it in a very graphical kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Like you see Gert's like dinosaur in the pool. You'll see like this person with a metal hand supposed to be Chase. You see the shadow of Nico's wand. You see a girl with Molly's like eyes lit up. You see this pink human phoenix type Jean Grey looking thing that's supposed to be Catalina. As for Alex, I'm not quite sure what his is. It might be the goggle. No, I remember. There's something outside that looks like the on-off button to those old-fashioned computers and stuff. The circle with that line in it and stuff. So I like that. It's visually clever and stuff. Now, the Runaways is a superhero group of teenagers that ran away. But these people don't want to be superheroes except for Molly. Molly is Molly. Like, if you've seen the first thing, you know what I mean. But she's improving and being a better character. She is the only one who wants to go out at night and beat up bad guys and stuff, where the other team does not want to. And I applaud her for that. The other team, they will stop the bad guys, but they don't think of themselves as like a team. You have Alex, who's kind of like the father figure. You have Nico, who's kind of like the mother figure. And you have Chase, who's like the angry brother. And you have Gert, that's kind of like the nerdy like sister and everything. And then you kind of have like Catalina, who's kind of like, the sad teenager who can't get her way. And then you have Molly, who's just like the baby of the family. So it is cool how they are an actual family, and that's the way they're portrayed when, they're in their mansion and stuff. Like you have Nico literally being a mother figure to that of the entire group, and especially Molly. The parents, they don't get along either, just like the teens. Like the parents literally can't get along. Some of the parents do, like, get more screen time than others. And that's quite a shame because, like, Nico's dad is barely in the series and stuff. Now, the whole affair between Nico's dad and Chase's mom, that's completely over. It's almost like it just never happened and stuff, which is kind of odd and weird. The relationship between Alex's father and Darius, that gangster, it takes a surprising turn and everything. But like I said before, let's get into some character profiles. Forrest and AWOL. So they are two corrupt cops. Forrest is the fixer for Pride. Whenever they need something fixing, he takes care of it. That's how they get away with so much stuff. He doesn't know their kids have powers. He has a small role this season, and basically he's tasked with looking for the kids, but doesn't do a very good job. He is later murdered by AWOL because AWOL is a crooked cop who's basically a thug. He has no loyalties whatsoever but to himself and his wallet. He is a straight up like thuggish, like ghetto gangster type dude. And pretty much a lot of the cops fall on him. When stuff is going down with Alex and his parents and stuff, like he makes a deal with AWOL, but AWOL, like I said, has no loyalties to anybody. He betrays Alex. He betrays Tamar, who is Darius's wife, all for Pride to take over Forrest's job so he can get paid more money. He is very ruthless and very, very, very evil and stuff. It's crazy. This man has no powers. He's just a crooked cop, but he's more intimidating than most of the villains in the MCU. Like I'm not even joking. And so, like, he will do whatever it takes. Like, he shot at, like, Tamar, Livy, and her newborn baby and stuff. Like, he just doesn't care. And so when Alex, finds this out, he's trying to bring AWOL to justice with the video footage, this and that. But AWOL is always like several steps ahead. So he decides the best way to get to the kids is to get to Livy, to get to Alex. So he kidnaps her and everything just to get to Alex. Alex is at the point where he thinks he has everything planned out, but he doesn't. He screwed up when he tried to make a deal with AWOL. He screwed up when he tried to act tougher than AWOL and stuff. But AWOL, because Nico used her powers on him and his cops at the diner, he's on to them. So when he forces Livy to reveal the hostel, the underground mansion in which the kids live in and stuff, basically he gives him this ultimatum. Bring out the video footage, let Nico do it because he doesn't like Nico. And if they don't, then he'll pretty much just shoot like Livy. Well, this is like a real, like, tough place. Like, what's that phrase? Your back behind like a rock or something like that. Like, because like they don't want to reveal themselves because the moment they do, AWOL will most likely shoot them or capture them and take them to their parents. But they can't just let Livy die, so they're definitely trying to figure out what the heck to do. While Nico is using a very powerful spell to cloak the hostel and everything. to where she's losing control. And not only is she losing control of, like, because it's a powerful spell, but apparently we find out that Nico is changing. She's becoming darker and darker by using the staff. And she even says the staff talks to her in her head, making her want to do bad stuff. And so they end up capturing him and hold him hostage. But then when his fellow cops come in to save him, the runaways got a plan and everything. But it doesn't go too well until Nico loses control and her eyes, like, they turn dark and they have like these purple scales around them. And she just literally says, "Get out," while using the staff. And all the cops, along with AWOL, just straight up disappear. Not only did they disappear, but their clothes and their guns are left behind. And it was kind of like, what the heck did she do to them? Did she disintegrate them or what? We'll find out in the next season. But AWOL is like definitely a very interesting character. I wish he could have stayed around a little bit more just to give, the runaways like a run for their money and stuff. Topher, played by Jan Louis Castarellis. He is newly introduced into the show. There is a Topher from the comics, but he's a little different. This version has been race bent to Hispanic, and this version cannot be a vampire like the one from the comics. In the comics, he had a small little gang and he was a vampire, and he was an enemy to that of the runaways. Here, he's kinda an enemy, kinda not. They had to change his story because I don't know why they didn't want to introduce vampires. I have really no idea. It's never been explained. And so, like, this version is completely different. This version, when he sees Molly being a vigilante, he sees that she has powers similar to him. So he follows her back to the hostel. The runaways don't want him there, but Molly assumed that that might be like a relative of hers because they're both Latino and they both have the same power. So he plays on that to get in good with them. He does help them out whenever they need help. He teaches them how to dumpster dive for food, and when they need a computer component from their high school, they can't go in because, they're wanted by the police and they're running away. So he sneaks into the school and he gets the thing for them. He's very sly and very cunning, but Nico does not trust him whatsoever. And she's doing everything she can to find out the truth about him. Of course, he lies and everything. And so it turns out that he doesn't really have Molly's powers. What happened was this: 10 years ago, when Molly was just a little girl and so were the runaways and stuff, he was working as a teenager at the hospital in which, her parents were murdered by Leslie, Carolina's mother. And so, like, the explosion caused him to slow down his aging. So he still looks like a teenager, even though he's a young adult. Also, it caused him to absorb those rocks that gave Molly her powers into his skin just by rubbing it into it. So he has super strength, but the rocks causes his personality to turn dark and everything. Moody, grumpy, all that. He lied to the runaways about what happened to his parents. Turns out, when he keeps using these rocks, like I said, he gets angry. He accidentally broke his father's legs. He was kicked out and been homeless for the past 10 years and stuff. And all he wants to do is come home, but the family will not allow him. At this point in time, the runaways have tracked him down to his old home, and he becomes very agitated by that. And so, like, he literally gets into a fight with Molly, and since they both got super strength, the fight don't last long because of budget reasons. But basically, he picks up a dumpster and he throws it at the runaways, only for Chase to blast it away. But when it ricocheted, it went in the path of Gert. So Topher, all pissed off and everything, he still cares about them. So he runs over and get Gert out the way, but he gets smashed by the dumpster. After that, we see him in the hospital all banged up. We don't know if he survived. We don't know if he died. He was truly an interesting character. And he made up for the first, maybe three, first couple of episodes or so. And I really do appreciate they took the time out to give us not only a new character, but a new villain and everything. Because it would have got tiring just them going after the parents all the time. Jonah, we find out so much about him. He's alive and everything, doing what he always does, sucking up the life energy from people and stuff. Indeed, he is an alien. Him and Catalina actually spend a lot of time this season. He reveals that he's her father. He teaches her how to use her powers, and she hides all this stuff from her friends. They have no idea that she's even sneaking out to go visit him and stuff. But she is at peace, being with her father and learning how to use her powers. This causes a problem with Nico, who eventually starts to figure out something's going on with her, because it will eventually cause a strain. We even find out how he came to be. He was just a regular doctor from Australia, came over to America, and he helped out the Jonah that was taking form in another human's body. How they do it is like this. They're little specters of light aliens that just go inside like a human body when the human body can no longer is living and stuff. And so he transferred into the doctor Jonah. And there he, took over Pride. He's been his family's down below in his spaceship and everything. And he's been living all this time. We've seen him even meet in his adult age a young Leslie. And he's known her since she was a kid. She's known he's an alien, known about his immortality, stuff like that. He eventually marries her and they create Carolina. But that's not the only person they create. Leslie is now pregnant towards the end of this season with Jonah's baby. He corrupts that of Frank, and to the point where Frank turns on Leslie. And so Jonah pretty much tells Carolina that, he just wants to leave this planet with her and the rest of their family, this and that. But he always has a trick up his sleeve in case something happens. His only true love is to that of his family, but he is done with Leslie. And he even tries to kill Alex's father and everything. So Alex and the rest of them had to save him. And so the tremors and the earthquakes and everything is caused by his spaceship and his family. Nico's father literally takes it to Jonah by creating a device that, causes him pain and beating the snot out of him until these two women from Pride save him and everything. Basically, he's been using the parents this entire time. So when the big conflict happens and everything, he uses his powers to take on the runaways, and the parents are there, and Dale and them have created some kind of serum that can literally kill and harm that alien race. All the vials have been destroyed except for one. And, what makes matters worse is that he tells Carolina what happened to Nico's sister. He is the one who killed her and stuff and took her life energy. Carolina tells Nico thinking, everything's going to be all right now that you know the truth and we can all be happy and everything. Carolina has lost it. She is literally brainwashed to think that Nico's gonna be okay with this. Well, Nico is not okay with this. And with everybody down, because Jonah just whooped the floor with them, she sees the last vial, takes her staff, breaks it and absorbs the fluid, right? Because she was down below in the crater with a couple of the others and everything, and she came up in this giant tornado looking thing, or whirlwind. Next thing you know, I think she leaps in the air with her like magic and everything, and she literally drives the staff through like Jonah's chest from like the back. She straight up murdered his behind and stuff. And of course, Carolina is not happy about it because she now lost her father, a man she never knew was her father. So it causes conflict between those two. And and when he's dying, he's in Carolina's arms, and then this is how we find out he was a human before the alien took over. He looks at her and he's all like, "Who are you?" and everything. And then he passes away, and his body kind of like flashes and stuff. And it turns out that his family did in fact escape. And they've now implanted themselves in other humans, in some of the runaways and some of the parents. Now, the thing about his spaceship is that if it would have launched, it basically would have destroyed the entire city, if not the planet. And of course, he could care less and everything. I wish they could have made him into a bigger villain because he kind of pops in, kind of pops out. And I don't know, there's something about this actor. He's played bad guys before, but he never really truly seems too evil. He always seems smooth and debonair in like a corporate business kind of evil kind of way. Not a maniacal demon like in Charmed or like Doctor Doom and Fantastic Four, and not an evil alien in this show. Frank is the husband of that of Leslie and stepfather to Carolina. He becomes very corrupt this season. When Jonah dies, Leslie is going to destroy the church. He doesn't like that. He sees it's his destiny to take over because of his corruption, to the point of kidnapping Leslie and putting her in this one facility where they torture people and brainwash them. And he has no problems with that. He even kills a man that tried to confront him about all this pride stuff, and literally just got rid of the body and framed like Leslie Ford. He could care less. And in the first season, it seemed like he was on the up and up until he was corrupted. When Carolina tries to save her mom, he ends up like, imprisoning her. Basically, his fate came to an end when Leslie's mother, Carolina's grandmother, broke them out, and Carolina exposed her alien powers to the church, thinking her to be some sort of angel or godlike being. Leslie's mom, Susan, took over the church and has now imprisoned Frank, where he is now written off this show. For the most part, Frank was a pretty like demented man, pretty evil, and like I said before, like it's something about this show that does it so much better than the MCU Disney Plus shows. Darius is the gangster we met last season, and he takes a very different turn this season. And last season, he was the one who was in jail along with Alex's father, and he took the rap so that Alex's father could get out and join Pride. But of course, Alex's father double betrayed him and stuff. So all first season, he just wanted revenge and wanted money and this and that. Then once he saw the kids had powers, he tried to use that to his advantage and everything. But this season, while he's still a gangster, he's actually nice. There's another side to him. He's a father now, along with Tamar, or is it Tamar? But like, yeah, so he has Alex does like a bunch of jobs for him, gives him like envelopes, does like deliveries, and he even gives like Alex a gun, but it's not loaded. So you assume he's gonna have him do like drug sales or something like that. But it turns out he just has him go to his home and has Alex help like, his wife like paint like the walls for like the nursery and stuff like that. Also, he probably wants Alice to get in good with his sister-in-law, Livy, so that, she can marry like a nice guy who's wealthy. But for the most part, he's just an all-around outstanding guy this season, which is very shocking for how he was last season. It goes to show you, no matter how tough or like gangster a person can be, there's always a soft side to them, and it's normally family and stuff. However, even though him and Alex are friends and he gives Alex money and this and that, Alex's father and mother are still looking for him. And so when they find out that he's been associating with Darius, the father, pretty much tells him, hey, look, man, bring my son to me, this and that, and me and you can be square and I can give you some money, stuff like that. So of course, money talks. And so Darius betrays Alex and pretty much kidnaps him and takes him back to his parents. But what Darius doesn't realize is that Alex's mom is the true gangster of the family. She is ruthless and like, very intimidating. So she sets up a deal with that crooked cop to lure Darius into like a hotel. While there, she pretty much tells Darius, like she wants her son back, but her son's a wanted man for the murder that Pride, set those kids up for. So she's gonna make Darius take the rap. She shoots the crap out of him and have that crooked cop tie him to that murder. Now, because of that, the runaways are no longer wanted for murder and stuff. I couldn't believe she did that. I was really curious to see where they was gonna take the Darius character, but then they just straight up killed him. Tamar is Darius' baby mama. And so she's pretty nice and everything, but she's like pretty mean as well, but not as mean as Alex's mom. And like when she finds out that Alex's parents had something to do with the murder, she is fed up and she wants nothing but revenge. So Alex's father goes to her and gives her money, talking about how he's sorry about Darius and all this and that, because he didn't even really know, like, who killed Darius until he finally found out. And so she uses that money, but tells him pretty much it ain't never gonna be square between them because she just wants revenge. This is when she gets the help of AWOL to, set up the Wilders and stuff. But of course, AWOL set her up because the Wilders pay him more money than what she had and stuff. She likes Alex for the most part, but wants him to stay away from her her sister and stuff. And her sister is Livy. Livy, I first saw her in 13 Reasons Why. And then after she did this show, then after this she did Light as a Feather, which I talked about. Go watch that. And so Livy, for the most part, there's not much to her character. She's just a very nice girl who just happens to live in the hood. She dresses ghetto, like from like the 90s and stuff. The white t-shirt and the plaid like button-up shirt over it, where it's just like one button at the top. I don't know why they have her dressing that way, because she doesn't act like she's ghetto. She doesn't act like she's from the hood. She's just an all-around like nice girl, which a lot of people are. There are a lot of people who are nice who just happen to live in the hood. So that is a nice way to like, show them and stuff and represent them, because not everybody is the same. Of course, she meets Alex and starts braiding his hair, and so he starts having it like braided back. But they eventually started dating because the whole him and Nico thing is just never gonna happen. The writers rushed completely through that in the first season just so they can have her with Carolina, which always pissed me off because I was hoping at least in one season they would at least date. But because he spends all his time with Livy, he doesn't spend no time with Nico this season. Like, pretty much at all. And so she likes that Alex is smart and all that, but once Darius dies, that just pretty much ends their relationship. And she starts ghosting him until he tries to help her, you know, bust his parents for Darius' murder. And so because of that, she gets entangled with the runaways where she meets them all and stuff. Because, after she got shot at by AWOL and stuff like that. So she's trying to bring AWOL to justice. But Tamar tells her plan pretty much, leave him alone because he's a crooked cop and like a former gangster and stuff. Well, actually, I don't know if he's a gangster, but he's a thug. But she's determined to bring him down, having video footage and all this other stuff. But eventually, her relationship with Alex disintegrates because Alex thinks he's the man who can handle everything and can figure everything out. But he just ends up making things worse when he starts like affiliating with AWOL and everything. Pretty much after her life was in danger when those cops took her hostage and stuff, once she was free, like that was it. She was done with Alex. And after that, she was never seen on the show again. Now, the actress who plays Livy, I can't say her name, Jonah Alexa. And so, yeah, after this, she did, what was it? Light as a Feather, but she wasn't in that show that long, which really sucked and everything. But she did a really good job there. Zaffron. Zaffron is someone who showed up towards the very end of season 2. Zaffron is from the comics, but it's changed just slightly. Actually, it changed a lot. See, Zaffron is a what is it? Gender fluid alien from the comics. They're Skrull. And in the comics, they eventually start a relationship with Carolina. And there's also talks of like their sexuality and what exactly they feel more comfortable being, male or female, this and that. Scrolls are shapeshifters and stuff. Because I think, they change from like male to female a lot. And the show is completely different. In the show, they are not Skrull whatsoever because, Marvel Hulu were not allowed to use the Skrull because that was an MCU property that they was planning on doing. And so, because of that, they had to come up with a completely different alien race. I think this one's called Zartarn or something like that. I'm not sure. So basically, this Zaffron was a stowaway on Jonah's ship when he was off in space and this and that. His species found Zaffron and basically made them into like a servant. So they've been down in the spaceship underground for all those years. When the spaceship was about to blow up, many of Jonah's people fled the spaceship along with Zaffron and stuff. And so we see Zaffron mainly only take on like female personas in season 2. First, they was like an old woman, then they touched this young black woman, and then they just decided to adopt that appearance. And so but we actually do kind of get to see what the alien looks like a little bit through a cartoon visual. You know how like they do backstories in movies and TV shows now, and it's like a cartoon visual. Reminds me of what that Harry Potter movie did, and everybody else kept doing it after that. The alien appearance, it's like a black and white cartoon, and so it's just like shading and stuff. No actual like real defined shape or coloration. They appeared a little African and everything, which is interesting because I assume they did that because of the actress who plays Zaffron and stuff. So they decided, all right, we're just gonna make the alien race look black. But hey, whatever. And so the actress who plays Zaffron, so basically Zaffron in this version seeks out to find Carolina. They're able to talk to her telepathically, and then they've been spying on her and stuff like that. And so when they find Carolina, they're all like, "I've been betrothed to you and everything, and I love you, and we're supposed to get married because it's destiny." And I'm trying to fulfill some prophecy I heard on Jonah's ship, and it just came completely out of nowhere. And it's just kind of like they crammed that in for the last couple of episodes. That's something that should have been saved until like the third season, which they do explore on a little bit more in the third season. But it was just like, the season was winding down and they just threw this in. It just came completely out of nowhere. This person talking about they're in love with Carolina, and like, Zaffron like freaks people out because she will take the appearance of like um the runaways and stuff like that. And people don't like that. But it's like, the way they fell in love with the comics was different, like it's similar to what happens here. So like in the comics, Nico and Carolina was split up and they was pissed at each other. So in comes Zavrin and like, eventually like, has a connection with Carolina. In the comic, Zaffron is really rude and the other runaways don't like them and stuff like that. Here, they simply just don't like Zaffron because they're a stranger and they're able to shapeshift, and automatically she just looks at Carolina like, "Oh, we've been betrothed because I read this prophecy and it must be you and I'm so in love with you," and, and like all this other stuff. So this is one of those stories that was kind of like rushed and stuff. And what's really weird is that Carolina's supposed to be a teenager, right? And the actress who plays Zaffron looks a little older. And that's because they're 5 years apart. So that was just freaky. This adult is supposed to be in love with like this teenager. It's just one of those things they didn't think clearly and very much rushed the storyline. But Zaffron tells like Carolina's mom that, Jonah's baby's inside you and the rest of his family escaped. So this what sets up the third arc of the season, to where Jonah's people's invading bodies of like the runaways and their parents. Tina and Robert, Nico's parents. So fun fact about the actress who plays Tina is that she's technically already in the MCU but got reintroduced into this show. There's two different versions of Tina. One is from the first Doctor Strange movie, and the second is from here, The Runaways. So somehow they was able to get permission because the Tina in Doctor Strange had like a tiny cameo and a small teeny tiny role, and so they was able to reintroduce her into this series as a completely new version. That is so awesome. I wish she would come back for the MCU, and I wish the Runaways would come back. They plan on bringing Chloe back from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Why not the Runaways? Anyway, so Robert, the father, he's actually barely in this season. And I'm not even joking. He's barely there. He's mostly just a background character in Pride and has a little dialogue here and there. The most significant thing that he does is take down Jonah and nearly kills him before he is knocked out. Him and Tina have reconciled and repaired their fractured relationship because remember he was cheating on her with not Stacy, but what is Victor's wife's name? Janet. So that whole love affair is completely over and it's not even really brought up no more except for like one line of dialogue. But it's almost like the whole story just like never happened. So I hate how this was rushed. As for why the actor is barely in the show, maybe he was filming something else. I don't know. Or maybe they just didn't have anything for his character. But it is shown that he knows martial arts because when him and the rest of the Pride try to take down the kids in the third act, Nico is unable to speak correctly to use the staff. So Boy, that was a fun action scene between that of like Robert and Tina and them fighting Nico martial arts style and fight. Oh my god, that was an awesome fight scene. But Nico is able to destroy the device and use her mouth again. And she uses this really, really dark power to send both her mom and dad flying through glass. The glass impales Robert in the neck and he's bleeding out. After that, we won't get to see him for the rest of the season. As for Tina, Tina has a more interesting role. She's kind of barely in the show, but she's in it enough to make, like, a print. So, in the early beginning of the season, after she forgives Robert, she kills Molly's, like, other guardian person, somebody who knew her parents. Might be like a kind of like a grandmother type figure or something like that. But basically, she knew how Molly's parents died and had like a tape and all this other stuff and pulled a gun on Tina and somebody else. And Tina's just kind of like, screw it, and killed her and everything in cold blood and didn't care. Which is, I think, what the Runaways also got framed for. And so later on, she's just a typical, like, she fights Nico at one point early in the season because Nico wants the staff. And, Tina is ruthless. She hurt Molly. I think she hurt Carolina and stuff. But then decided just to give Nico the staff because feels like she wants her to be protected and this and that. Because deep down inside, they do care about their kids, unlike the comics. And so later on, she's just there just to be there. But then she starts to act very different. She's eating chocolate. She has her hair down. She's acting like a teenager and everything. And it's kind of like, what the heck is going on with her? But then like, wait, hold up. I bet you anything somebody took over her body. And sure enough, they did. Turns out that Jonah's other alien daughter took over her body when, the ship exploded. And so when Chase and Gert are captured alongside her, she spills the beans that, hey, your parents are coming after y'all, right? And they're building weapons to literally take you down and stuff. But they don't really believe her until later on they do. And so that's basically the rest of the storyline for her is that, sometimes she's Tina and sometimes she's the alien daughter because the host can't really hold on to the body for that long because the host body is trying to fight back and everything. Catherine and Jeffrey, Alex's parents. Boy, Alex's mom is ruthless and everything. So basically, the parents want their son back. But he doesn't want to come back for no reason. When they find out Darius is hanging with Alex, they make him bring Alex back, which Darius does for money. And this was all set up by Jeffrey. And he wasn't going to hurt nobody or nothing like that. But Catherine has other plans. She frames Darius for the murder of Molly's pseudo grandmother and then shoots him dead and have Flores like cleans it up and everything. And so because of this, the Runaways are no longer wanted for murder. Well, of course, like I said before, this pisses off Alex, Tamar, Livy, and all them. Alex is determined to bring his parents down. And so, like, for the most part, they're just seeing kind of like background character. The parents really don't get to do too much in this season. They're mostly just there wanting their kids back and this and that. And so, like, they make a deal, of course, with AWOL. Well, in the finale, which was a fun finale, the kids again literally getting chased down by their parents with drones and cars and this and that. So the Wilders are in a car chase with Alex because he stole like a sports car and just zoomed around town, and they're chasing behind him. Alex sets them up. he has like the gun that Darius gave him that's supposed to be tied to like Darius' murder or something. No, not the gun that tied to the murder. It's the gun that Darius gave Alex and then Tamar later had. So he lures them in a spot and shoots so people can hear it. Then he calls 911 on his parents, saying that these two people have guns and everything. After that, he sasses them and cusses them out and everything and runs off as they're getting like arrested. Now, as for Jeffrey, he had slightly a bit more to do. He confronted Jonah, and Jonah tried to literally steal his life force until the runaways saved him. And then, Alice took him like hostage and everything and basically interrogated him. It does suck how the parents aren't that much involved because it's kind of like they're literally just there to be parents and want their kids back, but then do a little shady stuff here and there. Stacy and Dale. So for the most part, Dale and Stacy are just the same. They always finish each other's sentences. They're quirky, they're a little weird, and they do have a temper, but it rarely comes out. And so Dale is barely in this season, but of course Stacy is. And it's an interesting thing that happens with Stacy. So basically, they're trying to find ways to bring the kids back after the ship exploded. And we see Stacy work on some kind of formula, and she later poisons Old Lace with the drone. Basically, Old Lace is out about, getting some fresh air until the drone sprays her with some mist and it's poison. So of course she's connected to Gert, and it makes Gert sick. So they're both dying. Dale's kind of like, yo, this is a little extreme to bring our kids home, but she doesn't seem to care. And then every once in a while, you'll see her without her glasses. And Dale's kind of like, yo, where your glasses at? Because you can't see without them. And so she's a lot meaner after the ship exploded. And it's just kind of like, oh, she got taken over. And she did by Jonah's alien wife. And she is mean. Now it does kind of get a little hard to tell which is Stacy and which is the alien, but you have to remember, the glasses and stuff, and also the attitude. And so basically, they work for Pride to try to bring the kids home. And she literally shoots up Chase with sodium pentothal and everything. But I'm not sure which one it is. Because sometimes both of them will wear the glasses sometimes. And it's literally like I gotta go back and rewatch because you gotta pay attention to the glasses because sometimes the alien mom will act like Stacy to fool everybody, and you really don't know if Stacy's just mean or is it an alien mom. And so when they shoot Jace up, he reveals that he's been banging their daughter and everything, and talking about, hey, look, man, I know old Lace and Gert are like connected, but when I be banging your daughter, I don't know which one's the beast that's coming out. See, when this show does humor, it's not like the MCU baby humor. It's real legit humor and stuff that you can actually laugh to and not laugh at. So basically, when they're trying to chase Gert down and everything, Dale goes after Molly, but Molly does the smartest thing. She runs into like a Latino restaurant and talks Spanish. And I don't know what she's saying, but basically trying to say, hey, this dude is trying to hurt me. So they all confront Dale and everything to where he just takes off running to where Molly gets away. Gert, on the other hand, alien mother literally clunks her in the head with a blunt object and makes her bleed. Then Dale decides, you know what, this is getting a little too scary. So he takes Gert, Old Lace, and ditches Stacy, and he's all like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. I'm scared of your mom, but we're gonna have a road trip. Me, you, and Old Lace, but I don't know where Molly's at, but bye bye Molly and everything. So he just takes off driving, and we don't know where he takes Gert. Leslie gets a lot of screen time this season, and a good thing. And man, it's so sad now. Rewatching this show and knowing the actress died of cancer, I think this year or last year. May she rest in peace. Such a lovely woman and everything, and such a great actress. It sucks that she died. It's just so sad, man. And she played the bored queen in season 2 of Picard. It's just so sad, man. And so she has a lot of good stuff to do this season. She is fed up with Jonah and everything, and she literally just wants to take him down. Now remember, she killed Molly's parents. And her and Frank are at, like, their relationship is rocky as well. After Jonah dies, she wants to take down the church, but Frank will not let her, and he literally kidnaps her and takes her to this detention center where they brainwash you. She even reveals she's the one who created this torture device system where the white room and, strapping down in the chair and all this stuff. She is evil, but they make her so sympathetic this season that you feel a little sorry for her. When she's in that facility, she meets her mother, but has no idea that is her. It's a very quick storyline that they shoved into the show, but it kind of works for what they set up to where it didn't have to linger much longer. But it does feel kind of odd that all of a sudden this woman she meets just happens to be her long lost mother. Now they took her from her mother and everything and put her in that facility where she goes by like a number and this and that. Later on, she wants to help her daughter, like, be the rightful heir of like the church since Jonah is dead. And she meets Carolina for the first time. So it's a nice little reunion of 3 generations and stuff. But the grandmother stays there. After Carolina did her little light show, thinking, the people think she's an angel. Frank gets like, put in solitary and everything. And as for Leslie, it turns out she is pregnant with Jonah's baby and everything. Now, I'm not sure if the actress was pregnant around that time or not. This could be why they wrote in another sibling for Carolina. And so they take her back to the hostel, which Alex does not want her there. And, literally, he voted for her not to go there. Jace is already gone. And so it's just all the females against Alex. So, of course, they won. So I just realized that the Runaways is a group of females and only 2 guys. And it works so well. Like, because I've always wanted to see what that will look like in television shows like Star Trek and Power Rangers. And Star Trek is mostly men into females. And same thing with Power Rangers. And I always wonder, what would that look like if it's the reverse? And would fans accept it? Well, I mean, they did it here and it works very well. So, she talks to Zaffron and everything, and Zaffron tells about like how you're pregnant and how Jonah is actually still alive. Yeah. When Nico killed him and then the alien left the host's body, the alien just went into another body and everything. Whose body exactly? Well, Victor. Oh, yeah, that was interesting. So Victor and Janet, they repaired their relationship and everything. Well, of course, after she shot him and he was dying and he had cancer and like, Jonah put him in that little tube and regenerated his body and everything. And while in the tube, Jonah had him work on all this stuff. And so he was able to somehow communicate with Janet on the outside. Which turns out Janet is actually very smart, just as smart as him, but not as smart as him. And that's good because she really didn't do nothing in the first season. And you always wonder, is she just literally just a wife or like what, And so it was great to see that she's smart and she can do all this stuff and work all this electronic stuff. Well, when Victor is healed and everything, of course he wants his kids back or his son back and everything. And him and his wife reconcile. And so like he's a lot nicer now, which makes them reconcile. He finds a way to communicate with Chase because he basically hooked up this device to every landline and just listened for Chase's voice and told Chase that, yo, man, I'm dying. I need to see you. So this causes Chase to leave his friends and everything and literally piss them off. And when I mean he left to go back home. You gotta remember, he's a rich, spoiled, rich boy. So living underground and eating out of dumpsters is not his like way of living. And so we start to see Victor's hand deteriorate similar to that of Jonah. Must be a side effect of the tube, right? And he tells him how like he's always blacking out, waking up in the lab. He doesn't remember like how he got there. Sometimes he's back to being pissed off at his wife, and he doesn't know what's going on. Well, we find out that Victor literally, not Victor, but Jonah literally went in Victor's body after the ship exploded and his other host body died. The side effect of his arm is a result of what happens to humans when these aliens are in their body. They have to like steal life forces and stuff like that. And so him and the rest of Pride in the finale literally worked to take down that of like the kids. They're using drones to try to like, shoot them up with like some type of like knockout formula or something like that. That's tailored to like their bodies and stuff. But Tina is like a lousy shot as she's like piloting the drones and stuff. So then the rest of the family chases them down with cars. Victor slash Jonah uses these little force field devices on Carolina. But Zaffron like stops that, but then he ends up like just blasting Zaffron. So he takes Carolina and tells her, hey, look, man, I'm your dad and everything. And she just straight up believes him because she figured Jonah went into somebody else's body. And so he kidnaps her and tells his like alien wife and alien daughter that we have to eat in everything. So which one do you want to eat first? And the captives are Chase, Janet, and Carolina. So I'm like, dude, he's not really gonna like take the life force of his daughter, is he? But then here is something really cool for the third season. They reveal that there's an alien brother, but they don't know where he is. And the thing is, these aliens literally have to take people's bodies the moment they're like floating around in the air. I guess if they don't take a body right then and there, they die. And there were tons of little lights flying up in the air. So they realize, wait, hold up. None of the other parents are acting weird. So the brother can't go in one of them. So that means the brother had to have went into one of the runaways. But which one? Because none of them act differently. He's having a hard time taking over the host's body. So it's not Janet, it's not Carolina, it's not Stacy, Tina, or Victor, and it's not Chase. So it's either Molly, Nico, Alex, or Gert. And you won't find out until like the next season. So thank God they got that third season. The Runaways, the actual group, actually gets a whole lot better this season. I like how when they fight as a team. One person will use their power as the other person comes up to follow, stuff like that. They still bicker with one another. But it's mostly just Gert and Chase who bickers with the entire group and stuff like that. Sometimes Molly would chime in, but that's about it. But it's mostly just those two who, every time somebody says something, they always gotta get pissy about something or smart mouth and everything. The parents do the exact same thing. But I love how they work as a group, and I love how they're a family. And I love how they are a team of heroes who gradually become like a superhero team, even though they don't call themselves that and they don't have costumes, just like in the comics. They just wear their regular clothes. And I also love how diverse they are. Like, they're different genders, different races, and sexualities, and they just work so well on screen. And that's because they're developed in like in the comics and on screen so much better than most stuff that feels kind of forced, you know? And so Gert is the feminist, and I think a riot kid and stuff like that. She's all about like the environment and stuff like that. Hair is still purple, and we get a bit more into her psyche and like what is it? Something that affects her mind that she has to take medication for. And I like how they touch down on that because she does suffer from some sort of mental illness and stuff. She is still telepathically linked to that of Old Lace, and we get to see a lot of Old Lace this season. I love the practical animatronic of Old Lace. When it's CGI and Old Lace is running, it looks horrible. I wish to God this show had a bigger budget, because if they did, they'll be able to use their powers a whole lot more. And so, like, her and Chase are still dating, but they are very rocky this season. And it starts off being rocky because, like, she needs her medication badly. So when they sneak into, like, the school, where the rest of the team's on the outside and Alex and Chase are on the inside, Gert decides to sneak in and tries to get her medicine from the nurse. The nurse knows that they're runaways and wanted by the law, and so she calls the police. And we get to see her agitation and stuff like that, which is really good because most of the time when you see mental illness or there's something wrong with a person, it's always played for laughs, but not here. Like, it's very serious and she has a hard time concentrating. Now, when it comes to Olay, she never really uses her in a battle because of budget reasons. When Gert goes into battle, she can't take Old Lace because they say, oh, Old Lace is too wild and this and that. But it's really just because of the budget thing. And so, like, it leaves her defenseless a lot. But when she needs her medication, well, actually, before I get in that, she also wants to go to college because she's about to graduate soon and she's about to turn 18 and she wants to adopt Molly and everything. She just loves Molly to death and hates her parents, boy. But she loves Chase even more, even to the point where, they sleep around with each other and stuff like that. But when she needs her medication, she decides to go to the hospital to go get it, but she needs, a parent to sign. So she doesn't call her, she calls Janet. And Janet's all like, bring my son home. So Gert calls Chase and everything. He comes to the hospital and gets ambushed by his mom. Not in a physical kind of way, but in a loving, I miss you kind of way. He is furious about this, and this is what starts their rocky relationship because he feels completely betrayed that she will call his mom. Then he finds her college acceptance letter and is pissed that she's gonna run off to go to college and not be with him. And so when they're in the hotel pretending to be this married couple, they literally basically split up kinda and everything. And so after that, they're just like insulting each other and just like really, really pissy, right? But things get worse doing Molly's Kinsey. So he gets a call. So Chase gets like a call from his dad, and he decides he's gonna lead the group. This causes Gert to literally just hate Chase and everything, to the point when they're running from their parents, she meets a guy who acts just like her, and she's really interested. Like, she literally just like, screw Chase, she wants a new guy, until of course the parents are hot on her trail and they have to run. And so, like, for the most part, I do like how they touched on Gert's like mental illness and stuff. She's not so much a feminist this season and stuff. You will hear her talk a little bit about it in the environment, but not that much. The whole thing with her and Chase was really cool because, those two are polar opposites. She's more like Hot Topic looking and everything. He's a preppy boy. He's spoiled rich. She's rich too, but she doesn't act like she is. And, she's all about the environment and he's all about looking cool and everything. So it's really cool to see those two that are polar opposites date. But, I do appreciate the fact that they made this into a real relationship where they had real problems and they were not able to sell it this season and stuff. As for Chase, he mostly constantly gets into arguments with Alex. He still hates Alex from like the first season. His power is the fisticuffs, and they like these electronic gloves that shoots out like beams of energy and stuff. He rarely uses them because, of course, budget. But what's weird? It's like, how hard is it to make cartoon lights? You know what I'm saying? That shouldn't cost that much. But they end up getting stolen when they're on the runaway and when they're on the run and everything. And so this homeless man on the bike, he steals them and they track him down. This is where Carolina falls through the ground and they find a hostel. And so every once in a while, you'll see Alex use the fisticuffs and everything. So basically, Chase's whole storyline, it just revolves around Gert, like I just told you before. And eventually, him and Alex will kind of settle things, you know what I'm saying? But he's still a butthead. And he's kind of like third in command of the group, to where AWOL is trying to like, capture everybody and he has to take up a leader position because Alex, the leader, is being stupid. Nico is about to pass out because she's putting up that force field and everything. And he has to try to figure out a way, what they're going to do and everything. But for the most part, his character takes a turn towards the end when his dad gets sick. And it's to the point where, oh, by the way, the whole him and Carolina thing, that's completely over. To the point where they don't even really have no screen time together. But anyway, he actually willingly wants to go back home. Like I said before, he's a prep. And he actually does care about his parents, especially his dad, because, even though his dad was mean to him, that's how he learned how to do all that like engineering type stuff and electronic stuff. Pride uses Chase to try to lure in the kids, right? They all like, hey, this is y'all birthright. We want y'all to take over the company and everything. And y'all can use our resources for whatever y'all want. And so he kind of believes them and kind of doesn't. Because he remembers what Alien Tina told him and everything that, so he warns the group that, hey, look, our parents really do love us and they want us to come home, but they are about to go to war with us. And I mean, they legit go to war with their kids and they've built weapons and stuff. Like, this is so crazy, right? They know their kids are powerful. They have to somehow incapacitate them. So they create this device that scrambles their thought process, right? Like Nico can't concentrate to talk and she's talking gibberish. But they have to test out this like tranquilizer to make sure it doesn't blow their kid's head up, along with that little scrambling device. So they literally used like two of their assistants at Pride as like guinea pigs, and they do it over and over and over and over and wiping the minds of their assistants. Yes, they have formula, a chemical that can literally erase your memory. And so he's kind of buying into all this and he's kind of not. But he does try to get the kids to come back home, but also warns them and stuff. And of course, when Jonah is revealed to be Victor and stuff, or Victor is revealed to be Jonah, like he's taken captive and put in that little tube. Molly in season 1 was insufferable. Like, a lot of people did not like Molly. She's the youngest. She acts like the youngest. She screws up a lot. But this season, they're really trying to improve her, and I really appreciate that. So, like, she's less silly goofy than what she was in the last season, but some of her juvenileness still comes out. Like, she's always smiling, she's always optimistic. When she was in the hotel, that fancy hotel and everything, she was jumping up and down in the bed. And like, something else. I forget what. Oh, she still screws up a little bit because she accidentally revealed herself to like Topher and would cause him to follow her back home. And when she's running from like the cops along with everybody else, she tells everybody, "Hey, go, and I'll catch up later." She literally willingly lets herself be taken captive just so she can use her powers and like manhandle like the police and stuff. But that could have cost her because at one point she was unable to use her powers for whatever reason. But they are slowly trying to build her up to be a better character. When the season starts and everything, oh, first, before I get into that, also, like I said before, they race bent her to be Hispanic on the show. And I love how they actually make her feel Latina and everything. Because like every once in a while you would hear her speak Spanish when she's with Topher, who's also race bent to be Latina. Like, they really bring out their culture in them with the way they talk and the way they interact with each other and stuff. And she even has her kinsey because it's her 15th birthday. The Runaways forgot. And she was going to celebrate it with a cupcake all on her own. Until Alex found out and they actually threw her a kinsey and everything. They used what little money they had left to buy fancy clothes and do everything traditionally and stuff like that until Chase ruined it and went back home and everything, which broke her heart because she literally says that, because all she really wants is her parents back, who she never really got to meet because they died when she was young. And so she now sees the Runaways as like her new family and stuff. So when Chase left, it really broke her heart. And so that's really cool because I know a lot of Spanish speaking people always say that they're tired of Latino characters never speaking Spanish. So that's really cool that they allow like Molly to speak that. As for her improving as a character, Molly wants to be a superhero. Yes. She is the only one in the group who actually wants to go out at night and beat up bad guys. And I love it. Because the team is supposed to be a team of young superheroes. And so, like, she'll go out in the middle of the night, put her little hat thing over her face and everything, and she'll find people to beat up. Normally, it's guys harassing women and stuff like that. This, of course, catches the attention of Topher. And it also catches the attention of Nico, who sees her sneaking back in. And Nico does not like that because Nico doesn't want to attract no unwanted attention, which Topher ended up being that. And so, the whole her and Topher thing, that was a really cool connection they had because Molly, for the first time, felt like she had a kindred spirit, only for Topher to be a complete fake and everything. Her and Gert are still like really close and sisterly and stuff like that. And for the most part, she's not really paired up with nobody else in the group. But they really don't show off her strength that much like they did in the last season. I guess they don't have the budget for her to lift like a car over her head or anything like that. And so like, but you do see her use her strength in fights, just not that much. She normally tends to get knocked out first. And that's really irritating because she's super strong. But when she does use her powers, it's typical like, oh, she's in restraints. She'll break the restraints. She'll pick up a person, toss them around, something like that. You know what I'm saying? And she took out literally 2 drones with a dude's scooter and everything. Like she literally just hocked that thing in the air and took both of them down at the same time. But I do wish they would use her super strength more. Like, you really want to see her punch people and knock folks out and just toss them around a whole lot more. Which, super strength is not hard to do in a low budget television show. All you gotta do is hook some wires up and get going. However, this whole wanting to be a vigilante superhero thing is completely dropped after the whole Topher act is over and stuff. After that, she doesn't bring it up again and she doesn't sneak out at night no more. So it's just kind of like, why did they drop it? Maybe they dropped it because she was upset because, because of her vigilantism, Topher is now dead. But it would have been nice if they would have referenced it. Instead, she just goes on to being like Molly and stuff, you know what I'm saying? However, what's odd about that is that somebody saw the fight between her and Topher and like inspired her, or inspired this person to where they did graffiti on a wall and put Molly's face literally on like a wall and stuff. So it made me think, okay, they're gonna continue this whole vigilante thing, but then it's just completely dropped and stuff. Alex thinks he is the man, but literally has no idea what the heck he is doing this season. The whole him and Nico thing are completely over, which is a shame because like I said before, I really wanted to see those two date in the first season, only for them to break up and of course her be with Carolina. But they never really truly got together. They was coming close until she found out the whole thing about her sister, which don't okay, this is the weird thing. She's pissed at what Alex did to the whole sister situation that got her sister, in harm's way. And so because of that, she completely broke up with him and was extremely pissed off. But yet, when she finds out Carolina's own father murdered her sister, she's pissed at Carolina, but they later reconcile and everything. It's like, yo, what about Alex? Not only that, but him and Nico really don't have no screen time together this season. They're only together in group like situations. They really don't have no solo dialogue with each other, which is odd and strange as literally was her best friend at one point. Thankfully, in the third season, they corrected this, and those two get a whole lot more screen time and caring friendship type stuff. It was just kind of weird and bizarre how they really didn't have no connection whatsoever or no screen time together this season. He mostly spends some of his time with Livy and Darius, to the point where he literally just leaves the Runaways to go do odd jobs for Darius. He braids his hair and all this other stuff. He's learning to be a better leader and trying to be more street smart because he's very book smart. He is the only one with no powers of any kind. Once in a while he'll use the fisticuffs, but that's about it. So he's literally just the brains of the whole operation and the solo leader of like the group. And so like he does end up falling for Livy and stuff like that, and he ends up liking Darius a whole lot more than his own actual parents, which is really interesting and stuff. Until, of course, Darius gets like murdered, and that causes a rift between him, Tamar, and Livy. And we all know he put Livy's life in danger, and then she later dumped him and stuff. And so this is the second time he's been dumped by like a girl. He just can't seem to win. Like he couldn't win season 1, he couldn't win season 2. And it's like he's a boy pretending to be a man. He's a nerd and a geek pretending to be this gangster leader type person, and he keeps failing at like both because he's not quite understanding this whole situation, but he later does starts to succeed in certain other aspects, like taking down Jonah's ship and everything. And he was the main go-getter in like trying to get that stopped. Also, like when it comes to decision makings, nobody wants to listen to what he says because he's always leaving the group and stuff. or always end up pissing somebody off one way or another. Now, and in the end, like I said before, he framed his parents for like, Darius' murder and stuff. And he hates his parents to death. And I mean to death. He probably, like, out of all the runaways, he hates his parents the most. And is not willing to be back with them for like no reason whatsoever. Neither is Gert. Gert literally wanted old ladies to eat Dale. And everything. But he does start to kind of freak Gert out a little bit because when Nico made the police officers disappear and their clothes and weapons were left behind, he's literally counting all their guns and keeping them stored and like all this other stuff. And Gert doesn't understand why he's doing this. And at one point, you do assume he's gonna shoot his parents and stuff, but instead, he just framed them and called the police. Nico, my favorite. Oh my god, dude. Like, I remember going into the show, I didn't know who nobody was. I didn't know who none of the stars were. Well, except for Greg Sulkin, who plays Chase. I knew who he was, but I didn't know who none of the other runaways were. I knew who plays his dad and who plays Jonah, but that's about it. Oh, and also who plays Stacy. And so, but like for the runaways, I didn't know who none of them were. I didn't know what their powers were. But Nico became like my all-time favorite, man. And not just mine. She's so many other people's favorite as well. She got the goth thing going on. But more importantly, she's a witch with a big old staff. And she will use it on people and stuff. And especially this season, she is going through a metamorphosis and everything. Her metamorphosis isn't really explained. It's very glossed over. They won't explain it more until like the third season. I do think it was very lazy of them not to explain a little bit more and just giving us a little tidbit into like her and stuff like that, as to what's going on with her. But you have to just watch visually to understand, but you don't know what the heck is going on because of course this isn't directly tied to the MCU. And at that point in time, there were no witches in the MCU because they still didn't figure out what the heck they was going to do with Wanda until much later and stuff. And so they needed to do some explaining, so they really dropped the ball with that. But visually, they made her cool. She's so cool, they added her to a video game that recently came out a few years back. And she's going to be in the Spider-Man cartoon. She was originally supposed to be voiced by the same actress, but something happened with the scheduling conflict. So now she's voiced by a completely different person. And she's not as goth looking as she is in that cartoon. Like, how many goths do you know wear a flannel shirt? Like, come on now. But the clothes they give her are very cool, just like in the comics. Boy, I love this character so much, I bought her Funko Pops. And so, like, in this season, like I said before, she is now the mother figure. She is like second in command. And sometimes when Alex is away, she's basically first in command. Like, she makes more command decisions than he actually does this season. And so the whole her and Carolina thing is going very strong in the beginning until, of course, Nico finds out that Jonah killed her sister. And it does cause a lot of sadness and depression between those two because after that, Nico literally murders Jonah, or so we think. And so, like, she uses her powers very coolly. Like, first she's down in the crater. She uses that tornado to get herself out. When she kills Jonah, like I said before, she hit the valve with her staff. She charged towards him, leaped up in the air, and just stabbed that man through the back and straight through the chest. So, of course, this causes friction between her and Carolina. They're basically broken up by now because, like, they're just pissed. But they do reconcile towards the end where they make up a little bit, but not togetherness, like, but they're back on speaking terms because at first they didn't even want to be in the same room. The problem with their split up is that there's no real repercussions to like their breakup, and especially whatever Carolina does and stuff. I'll get into that a little bit later. But then there's more friction when Zaffron comes in, but it's only brief. Like I was expecting more of a love triangle drama, but we never truly got that. We didn't get that between Carolina, Nico, and Alex, and we didn't get that with Zaffron. So it's just kind of like, why aren't they doing that? Like, you got the time, do it. We find out when the cops tried to break into the hostel that the reason why she killed Jonah is because like the staff literally made her do that. Because when she put up that force field and everything, she literally says it's a really big spell and it's really straining on her brain, and y'all need to hurry up because something weird is going on with her, and the staff keeps talking to her, making her do stuff, and it's making her darker. She has a full-on connection with that staff, which in the first season is supposed to be mystical and technological. I think they went on full-on like mystical and left out the tech, especially when you get in the third season. And so, like, I really wish they would touch on upon that a little bit more, that the staff is literally talking to her. We don't hear no chiming noises, no like slithering type like noises, nothing, right? But we see an upgrade with her power. When she's completely stressed out or incapacitated or whatever, you know what I'm saying, her powers will kick in without her really knowing it. Kind of giving her a recharge, but it turns her dark. I love the visual around her eyes. They turn like scaly purple, her skin does, her eyes turn a bit darker, and she literally rises up like the Undertaker, but on like both her feet. And with the like, she can literally call the staff, like it will come directly to her. And like when she's in this dark mode, there's like this mystical dark like black and purple mist that comes from the staff, and every time she gives a command she shouts it out to where it's devastating to whoever she gives it to. She made all those cops disappear and nobody knew where they went. She blasted the crap out of her parents and everything, to the point where her dad got impaled by glass and started bleeding out. Now, the mom says she's seen this before, what's going on with Nico, because the dad has no idea. But once again, they will not explain. A little bit of a spoiler, basically, in the next season, we get to go to the dark dimension. And this is where that evil energy power is coming from. The dark dimension is also shown in Cloak and Dagger, and it's explained in their crossover. Which, by the way, that's the first time a streaming show and a network cable show, like had a crossover. First in history, boy. But anyway, so yeah, because in the third season, we're gonna get introduced to a whole lot more witches and stuff. And it's even to the point where Nico is so scared of this power that when she's not feeling very well and everybody else is gone, she literally busts a hole in the wall and put the staff there so she'll never have to use it again. When she goes on another mission, she just won't even take the staff. But something weird happens. Her eyes are doing that funny purple thing, and she literally goes back to where she put the staff, but she can't get to it, and she literally just holds her hand out and the staff comes to her. And it's kind of like, why did she get her staff back? 'Cause I thought she didn't want it no more. But of course, it's the darkness is taking over in her. So she is a very fascinating character and just a huge fan favorite. Like the whole purple scaly eye thing with Nico, that is so ripped from Doctor Strange. In the third season, they even bring in their version of the dark hole. And they talk about the dark dimension. Even Alex brings up Wakanda. I mean, come on, man, bring this into the MCU. Also, a huge shout out to Lyrica, the actress who plays Nico, for doing that one handspring front like cartwheel while holding the staff when fighting her parents. The actress actually did that. Like that wasn't even a stunt double. Like, I was like, holy crap and stuff. That was just freaking awesome. Carolina. Carolina takes an interesting turn this season, and I do appreciate it, but there's one aspect of it I just don't like. So, like this season, Carolina is a little bit more shadier. She is sneaking away from the hostel to go hang out with Jonah now that she knows that's her father. She knows all the bad stuff that he's done and all the people he's killed, but she's still willing to hang out with him. Now, she has Frank as a stepfather, but that's just not good enough for her. And she doesn't like her mom, yet Jonah is the one killing people. But she feels more connected to him because they're both aliens. And she wants to be able to understand this. He teaches her how to use her powers and control her powers without her bracelet and everything that confines her powers. And so this whole season, he's been training her, like, off screen. And she's been lying to everybody as to where she keeps going in the morning and everything, especially to that of Nico, which Nico can kind of feel something ain't right here and that she's lying. So every action that Carolina takes this season is affecting her relationship with that of Nico. When Jonah tells her about like his people and the ship and the tremors and why he takes people's lives and everything, she later tells like the group that something's gonna happen with that ship and this and that, and they kind of wonder how the heck does she know that until they find out she's been hanging out with Jonah. They're a little upset, but for the most part they don't really care, except for Nico. And the craziest thing is that you think she's gonna turn evil this season because literally when Jonah's all like, yeah, I killed Nico's sister. And she tells Nico that, but she's all like, well, I'm so glad I got that out in the open. Now we can continue to be girlfriend and girlfriend. And it's just kind of like, dude, your dad killed your girlfriend's sister. How is she supposed to be okay with this? But but Carolina's totally okay with this, where Nico's just kind of like, what the heck? And it's odd because it's almost like she's brainwashed and delusional at this point. And they could have really built up on that, but they dropped the ball and everything. So after Nico murders Jonah, Carolina is really pissed and upset, but she's still acting normal and everything. And they didn't write that very well. Like, yeah, her and Nico don't hang out as much, but then they later reconcile because they miss each other. Later on, like when she finds out her mom has been taken hostage and everything, she wants to save her mom, showing that she really does care about her mom. She meets her grandmother and like she does her little lightning effect to like trick the people at the church. And I do like how they're using her powers a bit more this season and making her levitate, but of course, budget reasons, they can't do it as much. And her mom literally wants Carolina to take over the church, which is kind of like, dude, I thought you wanted the church to go away. But now her mom's like, oh, Bill, we can use the resources and make it better and blah, 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 blah. But she doesn't want to do that. She really loves her mom to the point of letting her stay at the hostel. And not only that, but then there's the whole Zafran thing. And so the problem I'm having with Carolina this season is that they have her do all this shady, delusional stuff, and you think she's gonna turn, but she never does. And she just stays absolutely the same as she was in the first season. Not only that, but her actions doesn't really have no repercussions. Yes, it affected her and Nico, and they broke up for a small while, but then they later got back together. It's like all that shadiness didn't affect her relationship with her girlfriend or her friends. There were no repercussions. And I don't understand why. Like, um, it's like she gets a pass and everything for some bizarre reason. When Alex screws up, they let him have it, and it affects to the next season. When Chase messes up, it affects him and their relationship and all the way into the next season. When Molly screws up a little bit, there's slight repercussions, but then everything's forgiven. When Gert screws up, there's repercussions, but then it's forgiven. It's almost like with the guys, they punish and they continue to punish, but with the girl characters, they're like, everything's forgiven. So yes, I do feel like this is a much improvement of that of season one. Season one's not bad, it just lags way too much and takes too much to world build and stuff. But season two is a much improvement and season three is even better. I stand by what I say. I still feel like this show is a heck of a lot better than pretty much every single last MCU Disney Plus show, and even a couple of the MCU movies we've been getting lately. Like this show, they had a showrunner, they had a structure, they had a formula, they had a goal in mind. They were not setting up for the next big MCU movie. They was able to stay self-contained. The humor is actual real humor and not Disney Marvel baby humor where you laugh at the movie or the show, but you're laughing along with them. If only they had a bigger budget for the action sequences and the powers, it would have been truly phenomenal and stuff. Because in the opening of season three, we get this really cool scene with Chase using his fisticuffs and everything. I'm all like, yes, this is what I should have been seeing from season one and season two. They actually can do action when they have an actual budget and everything. And, so not having a big budget kind of weighed this show down, but they kept it afloat with the drama. Sadly, sometimes the drama didn't always stick. They will build up to something really good, but then let it go flat because somebody gets redeemed very quickly. The parents should have been way more evil and not so sympathetic this season, but I get why they did because it's kind of like a family show in a way. It sucks that the MCU won't bring this show back or none of the characters in full capacity. They're trying to bring everybody else, but they're not trying to bring them back. And I don't understand why. I still feel like this is the best, MCU-ish project ever. I still think Daredevil, Netflix is number one. This show is number two in my opinion of like the best Marvel shows. Daredevil is number one, but Runaways is number two. As for number three, I don't know. It's a toss up between Punisher and WandaVision. WandaVision was fun and had me going with the mystery. But there's something about Punisher that pissed me off in season one and season two. They kept repeating themselves about why Frank becomes the Punisher, then it lags, and then it builds up towards the middle and the end. So I'll probably put WandaVision at 3 and Punisher at 4. As for every other show, they can just fall whatever category for whatever, because I really don't. Wait, crap. Let's see what I said. No, I changed that again. 3 is WandaVision, 4 is Punisher, and 5 is probably Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger was interesting. It had a completely different vibe to it. I just needed more superhero-y type stuff. But then after that, every other show can just whatever, because I just didn't care. Maybe Hawkeye can come after Cloak and Dagger. I don't know. Alrighty. Well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.